our thoughts feed into our core beliefs. So if we're feeding our thoughts with this negative, I'm not good enough, I can't believe I'm here now again and this hasn't happened. And it's all these like, oh, here we are again. It's like, you're not here again. This is your first time here in this moment as this person, after all you've achieved, after all you've gotten through or overcome. So be really mindful of reflecting back with gratitude rather than with judgment. Yoga Mara welcomes you to the Love Your Limits podcast. We are two sisters from the west of Ireland with a passion for helping people connect back to themselves and feel less alone on their journey. Both of us have contrasting personalities, career background, and life experience, yet each of us found physical, emotional, and mental healing from learning to live more intuitively and with integrity.
We will be sharing our own personal journeys alongside interviewing a wide range of health and wellness experts that will empower you to shed fear, self-doubt, and move into a place of self-love and confidence. It is time to put yourself first, create healthy boundaries, and learn to love your limits. Welcome, everyone, to our final episode of the season. I can't believe I'm saying that. Today, we are wrapping it up in time for Christmas, and today we're going to talk on the topics of setting boundaries and prioritizing self-care, especially coming into this time of year. It can be a very exciting time, of course, but it can be very overwhelming, and it can also be quite triggering for people. So we will touch on that a little later in the episode. But to begin, we would just like to talk about our winter recharge challenge and how successful that was. We've just completed it, and just the feedback that we've received from everybody has been incredible. And we just wanted to share with you guys some of those little tips. But Hannah, do you want to share with us what motivated us to kind of start the challenge?
Yeah, I think with us, we wanted to have something to give others via the online platform. And with the online winter recharge challenge, it was a 6-week challenge that allowed people to choose what they wanted to do with their day. And what we did is we gave them a guide. So there were 3 days of the week that they would do movement and or mindfulness activity. So that was either a meditation or breath work, but it also included yoga, Pilates, some yoga lattes as well. And we kind of sectioned it into the beginner and the challenging. So some days when you're feeling more energized, you might look at the challenging option for that day and see, okay, do you know what, I'm going to push myself a little bit more. And then people that were just starting out with yoga. And a lot of people that started this challenge with us online had never even been to a yoga class. And they were looking for that opportunity to start to really reconnect to themselves in a way that was much gentler than maybe they've been used to before. And it's just been incredible. We were trying to find a way where we could connect the dots between an in-person experience and an online experience. And the best thing I think that happened out of that was the WhatsApp group that we've created and that community. And we have loved meeting people. We've loved chatting to people over the WhatsApp group. We love talking to our clients online, especially because people are based in different areas around Ireland and the world. So what it showed is that if you can prioritize movement, mindfulness, and or just a time out for yourself, regardless of what that is, what you're doing with it, you will feel better. That's just a fact. You will feel better in your body, in your mind. You do not need to be killing yourself at the gym or going consistently to the yoga studio every day for an hour class. You can find little moments in your day to help you reconnect within, to help gain that insight into what your body and your mind really need. And while we loved creating this challenge, and it actually just finished there on Sunday, and what we did every week is we journal prompts as well for each week on reflection, and we new recipes, healthy recipes that people were making as well throughout the week. So it was more holistic approach. It's not just movement, because that's not how we live our life. You know, we love to move, but we also love to be still. And I think it's really important to be still and nurture and nourish our body with the healthy food, and be able to brain dump with the journaling as well. But what we're really excited about now, I suppose, is that now that we've done it once and we've seen the incredible feedback, and those comments have been amazing, those testimonials, which we'll share in our socials as well, because they're just fab. It's getting us so excited for what we're going to create moving forward with this platform. So in January, we're going to start another one, it's our Reconnect Challenge. And although January is the typical time to hit the ground running, you know, we don't want it to be that type of get up, get going, have this full on all or nothing mindset, because that really isn't sustainable. And that's what we've learned throughout the years, making our own New Year's resolutions. I know myself, I have the best time ever Christmas. I switch off, I feel like a whale, and I'm like, all right, time to hit that gym. And then 3 days in, I'm like, I cannot sustain this. It is back to the couch.
Exactly.
So it's building up the healthy attitude towards looking after yourself.
I think as well, a huge part of it for us is the prioritizing your self-care. And that might mean not doing a day of the challenge. You know, that might be rest.
Absolutely.
And that is something we want to instill in our challenges, in our classes, in our company. You know, well, that's the whole ethos of Yoga Mara, is listening to your own needs and prioritizing those, because sometimes pushing through is not necessarily the healthy thing for you and your body.
100%.
Maybe that is to rest. And a lot of the feedback, you know, so positive. And some people said, actually, I didn't do it on the assigned days. That doesn't matter if you didn't do them at all. You know, like it's if you got one workout done that week, you're taking part. It's not about doing it all perfectly on the scheduled day.
Yeah.
It's about participation, and it's about showing up for yourself, whether that's for a gentle movement once a week, whether it's for journaling, whatever it is, it's showing up, and it's the baby steps. And I think coming into New Year's and these pressures we place on ourselves, and, you know, especially in January, I feel like it is the hardest month to be motivated because it is so dark. There is nothing to look forward to. And not to be negative, I feel like I'm very negative. But it's just a really hard time. You know, people go and, you know, they try and give up everything and they try and take on so much. And it is just a lot to handle. And it's not realistic. It's not sustainable. So this is something we just wanted to give people, whether it's 15 minutes of movement, whether it's 5 minutes of stillness. You know, it's getting a feel for what fills your cup. What is it that you connect with that, you know, you might resist going into, but always ask yourself, how do I feel after that?
Yeah.
Check in and say, you know, don't get me wrong. I have resisted going into many workouts before and many classes. I never feel like that at the end. So I always come back to that. I always feel like a different person in a better way. So that's what brings me back to the mat each time. And it's what you connect with. It has to be something you enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to share by giving you a variety of classes, whether it's yoga, whether it's Pilates, whether it's gentle, whether it's strong, whether it's 15 minutes or 45. What do you connect with?
Yeah. And that was something that was interesting on the WhatsApp group as well. A lot of the days where we put in when we're building up maybe momentum throughout the weeks, and the feedback from people that would have joined us just for our yoga got to have a taste of the Pilates classes that they never would have gone for before, but because it was in the challenge timetable, they're like, oh, I'll give it a go. And we're so surprised by how much they loved it. Yeah. And that's obviously down to you, Rachel, you're the Pilates queen, but it's amazing to be able to offer people different styles of movement that they might have been totally opposed to, but because it's so readily available, it's like, my body actually really connects with that. Yeah. And maybe that's you. Maybe that's you, one of you that are listening now and saying, I don't like going to the gym, or maybe you love going to the gym, but you want to be able to balance it out as well at home. And there's just so many ways that we can look after ourselves. And this is what it's about.
I was never a big gym lover. Like I did go to the gym, but I did it because I thought I should. And don't get me wrong, it is so healthy to do the resistance training and all of that. But it just wasn't for me. I was like, I need to connect with something else. And it was during COVID, I did connect with something else. It was Pilates and, yoga before that, but Pilates I got into while, during COVID. And that's when my passion, kind of started growing.
That fire flow.
I do love a fire flow. But what I love about it is that, and this is what I want to, get across to everybody, is how strong you can feel in your body with just maybe your own body weight or adding 1 pound weights if you want to, but how strong the practice can make you feel in your body, how confident you can feel, because, as we get older, body mass, our muscle mass and our bone density, they're so important to keep healthy and strong
Yeah.
at any, whether you're a female or male. And it is so important to keep, nurturing that and keep it working.
Yeah.
And that kind of strength, more strong side of the practice, whether it's 15 minutes a day, I don't do long sessions, and I've been out of action for a few weeks. I haven't been feeling well. And it does really get to you. It really does affect me, it just not being able to be active. It makes you so grateful for the days you can. So it's crucial.
It becomes routine, and it nearly
lifestyle.
becomes addictive.
Yeah.
And that's where we want to go with it. We want it to be ingrained in you that you are craving that, because you know how good you're going to feel.
Yeah.
So that starts January 6th. So that's still a good bit off, It's not the 1st of January. Let's not get too crazy.
No.
But that's only a 4-week challenge as well. I think the other one may have been a bit long.
But before we move on to our next topic, we have something very important to touch on and reflect on, because this has been a big year, especially for you, Hannah Healy, Hannah Boyle. So you obviously got married in August, which was the best day of our lives.
It was magic.
And can you just talk to us about, like for women out there that are planning their wedding, can you talk to us about your journey, like your personal journey and the lead up to the big day? And, what did it feel like? Were you ever overwhelmed? Were you all excited all the time? How organized were you? Well, I know the answer to all of these, but to share with everyone, she was unbelievably organized. But can you share with everybody your own personal journey and the lead up to your big day and how that felt?
Absolutely. And I think this time of year is like engagement central. So for anyone that did get engaged, congratulations. Enjoy the love bubble. The engagement time is the best time. Like, everyone is just so happy for you. You feel so much love. It is like, it's such a whirlwind. I remember when we first got engaged, I couldn't believe it. Even though I knew it was going to happen at some stage, I was still so shocked that I was actually engaged. Like, this is crazy. And that excitement and that love and all of that was just so amazing. And I loved being in that bubble. And then it was like, okay, so when's the date and where are you getting married? And have you to look for your dress and you make sure that, you start your skincare. And I was like, oh my God, there is so much to do. And I knew that and I knew that going in, but also when it is your turn, when it does happen and you're getting all those questions and it's just people being really interested and excited for you, it can feel overwhelming because you feel like it's this huge daunting task. And it was our family's and Paul's family's first wedding, like first family wedding, first daughter and son to get married. So you did feel maybe an added pressure for everyone else's enjoyment, making sure that everyone else within it is happy and enjoying themselves. And that's a good thing too. You don't want it to be, completely selfish, and you have, you want to consider other people in it. But what I found throughout the process of planning is how important it is to understand what's really key to you. And when I say you, I mean you, the couple, and you, the family, let's say, because not everyone's family dynamic is loving and supportive. Yeah, exactly. So it can be tricky, and with different family layouts. So I understand that as well. What I found for me, I found it overwhelming in the sense that I realized I didn't like wedding dress shopping. And I was so excited about it. And then I started it and I was like, I absolutely hate this. Just give me a white dress. Like, what?
Mum and I were with you and we were sitting the whole time and we were exhausted. And you were the one who had to try on the stuff, on the dresses. And I was just like, oh God, this is, yay, it's so exciting. But we were so tired.
Give us more champagne. And do you know what? It is a good day out or whatever. But I suppose what I'm trying to say is if you were like me and you didn't enjoy that part as much and you felt a bit guilty about not enjoying it, you're not alone. Because I think we're expected to be the making of our life. Like, you've made it here, so everything else is going to work out, because there's all this pressure from society. Like, once you get that ring, once you have the wedding, once you're married, then life is made. And that's not the case. Like, there's other things that come with it. And although it was the happiest weekend of my life, like, honestly had the best time ever, leading up to it, I had to do so much work on myself to get to that point, and I was very consciously aware of that, and probably because of the work that I do, and I understand that element. But I know when it came to January this year, so our wedding was in August. We got engaged the previous summer, and I decided then that I was going to start more focusing more on my mental health, because I am a very emotionally driven person. I'm such an emotional person, but I get really overwhelmed by emotion too. And I've had to work really hard at not suppressing, but being able to not allow it overcome or control the situation that I'm in, let's say. So I was very acutely aware of the fact that it will be a very emotional day. I don't want to be bawling my eyes out walking up the aisle, or, not be able to get through the speech, or just let the emotions of the day get to me. And my body physically reacts to that. Like, I sweat loads. I was like, I don't have sweat patches on my day, like clammy hand, like all the things that come up. So yeah, last January I decided I'm going to focus more on my mental health. So I got way more into my meditation. I started doing my habit stacking. So I read this book, Atomic Habits, which is brilliant. And it's about integrating healthy habits on top of ones that you already have. So I made it my mission that before I could enjoy my morning coffee, which I absolutely love, that I would meditate for at least 5-10 minutes. And then I was allowed to have my morning coffee. That was like my reward. And that helped me so much with the grounding, because as you start to move through wedding planning, there's so much to organize. First of all, there's so much cost involved. There's guest lists, and like we were in a unique position because Paul, my husband, plays rugby, so he is very limited to when he can actually have time off. We have to work around their schedule, obviously. So we actually had to get married in their pre-season because all the other team members were getting married in the time off. There was like 5 other weddings. It was a great year, great summer. So we had to work our way around that. So the venue was determined by the date, not the other way around. And so we chose this beautiful venue, Drumquinna Manor in Kenmare, which was one of my top venues anyway, and just so happened to be the only one available on the date. Didn't look at any others. I was like, do you know what? Job done. Like, let's just book it in. But that meant that our guest list had to be designed around the capacity of that venue. So that was really stressful, and that was tough. Like, you don't want to feel like anyone's being left out, but it's the reality. You can't keep everyone happy. And I really struggled with that. Like, people pleaser in me, I hated that feeling. And it's awful when you're trying to build up something and it's a really special time in your life, and some people can be maybe a little bit upset by that, and you feel even guilty about it. There's all these other things at stake. And there are those comments that come in, or, people that have been there understand what happens. Weddings are very revealing, I think. And I think it's really important in those moments to look back and be like, okay, but what is this about? This is about me and my person marrying each other. So it's not about anyone else. It actually isn't. And it's really important that in those moments where there could be judgment passed on to you, or guilt passed on to you, or whatever it is, or comments, and that those kind of things that can creep in, different behaviors that you've never seen before from people that are close to you, to really come back to what you stand for and why you're doing this. What are you organising? You're organising your wedding, not theirs, not a party for them. It's your wedding. That's where I really struggled. And thankfully, because I was focusing more on my mental health, and I obviously was going to the gym and I wanted to be physically fit and healthy and do my yoga and everything, and that supports mentally as well. I started seeing a therapist in January, and I go to her now every 2 weeks. She's amazing. And it wasn't like this big, I need therapy, this big aha moment kind of thing. It was like, I need additional support because it's going to be a big year. And it was a big year work-wise, and it's quite different when you're self-employed too. So it was even just managing. It's
also different when, being self-employed, but we also had probably the toughest time in our business.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, we did in the lead up to the wedding, and it was full on. The pressure was full on. I remember thinking, gosh, organising a wedding in the midst of all that, it was a lot. Very tough. It was very tough. It's not all peachy and rosy.
Yeah.
So it does take its toll. But you know, in fairness, you decided you needed to look after and prioritize those needs. And
Absolutely.
that really did help. And, you know, with your therapy, it wasn't something that happened overnight. Like, you know, anyone who's been to therapy, it's a very gradual process. And it's, you know, it's not like this big, as you mentioned, aha moment. It's slow. It is slow, but then, you know, it starts to accumulate all the skills and all the learnings, and you're going, you react a little differently and respond differently to certain situations.
And you start to observe others' behavior in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's the space I moved into. I just observed. I was like, interesting. Okay.
That's I
actually don't need. Yeah, I don't need to feed it. Yeah. And that wasn't always wedding related, but it was just throughout that year. I was like, okay. And it was there was just a calmness. And now I was very organized. Like, my background is in event management, so I obviously was very organized leading up, because I wanted to enjoy the day, and I wanted everyone that was with me, like bridesmaids and family, that everyone was on that morning totally chill. And it would just flow because everything was in order. So that was a lot of work as well. You know, it's not like it just, I did therapy and now I'm at my wedding, everything's great. I obviously still worked hard to organise it. But it really gave me such powerful tools that I'm going to continue bringing forward. And what I find interesting, like when I was planning the wedding, was all of the stuff that you're fed online. And because I'm, I suppose, more aware of that as well, and I'm a little bit older, getting married and stuff, I was thinking, well, I won't get sucked into that because I have that awareness. But lo and behold, you're online, and of course you're going to get sucked in, because it's constant messaging of, you have to have the skincare routine 8 months out, you have to be doing this amount of workouts 12 months out, your hair, what's your hair thing 12 months out. I was like, oh my God, I'm 3 months out. I haven't even started this.
We can't get married.
Yeah. Postpone the wedding. I need to start this. But it's all additional stress. It's all
pressure.
Additional expectation. You have to look perfect. There's no room for imperfection. That's the message you're being delivered. And it's stupid, because if you're not enjoying your day because you're so worried about how you're looking or how you're coming off, or if that flower is perfectly positioned, what's the point?
But it's taken away from the whole point.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like, remind yourself, whether you need to write it down and put it on your fridge on a post-it, it's about me and the name of the person you're marrying. That's what it's about. It's about the love you've created, and that you want to kind of declare that in front of everyone. And it's the most beautiful moment. So I know there's so much else that is so exciting as well. And people that are really into wedding and into that, absolutely, if that's what gives you joy, please go and enjoy it. But if it is stressing you out, take a step back and just figure out what can be cut back on. Yeah. Where can I make room for more self-care and self-love and kindness to yourself? Because you're going from, and not everyone has a background in event management. Like, people have a full-time job to hold down. Maybe they've kids as well. They're trying to plan a huge event for 100 plus people if they're having a bigger wedding. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that it should be all done. And it's just so funny as well. Like, the groom just turns up. Like, Paul was like, where is it? And should I go down and view it? Because Paul couldn't even come down to view the venue. Mum had to come with me when I was deciding where to go. When we were deciding where to have the wedding.
Hannah's wedding.
Yeah. It was just so funny. But like, and he slags me about that. He's like, yeah, like, grooms just turn up, you know. Yeah. Now, not all grooms. I'm sure more other grooms are more invested in it. But it is that there's a lot on the bride. There is a lot. And it's not only the bride has to make sure everything's looked after, accommodation, venue, flowers, hair, makeup, all that. They have to look absolutely pristine while doing so. So you don't. That's my message. You don't have to. You just have to enjoy the journey, because it comes and it goes so quickly. And people kept saying it to me, and I'd be like, yeah. But oh my God, does it come and go so fast? And it was actually gas, like, people asking me afterwards, and are you just so in the wedding blues now? Like, you're so upset it's all over. I was like, absolutely not. I am so relieved it's over. I absolutely loved it. I loved every minute of that weekend. And I loved the build up too. Like, there are obviously elements that were tough, but like, it still was amazing because you realise what you're creating. But I'm so happy that I'm just so relieved it went well.
Yeah.
And that everyone enjoyed themselves, that me and Paul had the best time, that we got to be there with our friends and family, the important people to us, and we don't have to do it again, hopefully. If Paul is good, we don't have to be organising another wedding again.
I think
So, yeah.
for any kind of event, it really does highlight, prioritizing your own needs.
Yeah.
Whether it's a wedding, whether it's a big birthday that you're celebrating, whether it's Christmas, coming into Christmas, it can be a very overwhelming and triggering time. And I know for me, I used to dread Christmas. I'm not a big winter person at all.
Yeah.
I don't like the darker months. I'd rather be in sunshine, like most of people. But the lack of daylight in the winter time, the nights out, the pressure to meet so many people and to look a certain way and to have the right outfit and to be, looking well in photos. These kind of things would have gotten to me. And I'm sure I'm not alone in that because, I know even from talking to friends or people I know that, they'd be the same, looking into Christmas thinking, oh gosh, here we go again. And it also does highlight, even though it shouldn't, you're coming to the end of the year and you do tend to reflect on what you didn't achieve rather than what you did. And trying to change that mindset can be so helpful because, there might be certain things by this time of year because Christmas is a big milestone, no more than a birthday was for me as well. Like it's like this milestone of like reminder that, oh, I haven't, met that person yet, or, I'm still in this same job. I wish I wasn't, or whatever it is. Instead of looking around and saying, I've all these friends sitting around the table that are celebrating with me or, coming into Christmas, look at all I've achieved this year. And, even things that you might view as failures, like heartbreak, that to me is actually a success because it's growth. You might have gone through a terrible time, a heartbreak with somebody or a job loss or whatever it might be that you look at as a negative. But I think it's really important to look on these things as opportunities to grow, opportunities for change and for new exciting adventures. And there is that bigger, greater plan for you and it's coming. And that's always coming, it's always working in your favor. Maybe it's not here by Christmas, but it could be here by January or February. It's, this pressure to meet this deadline. And it's like, oh, and it gets very kind of reflective, but let's reflect on the abundance rather than the lack. Because New Year's would have been a triggering time as well. This pressure to have plans made and here we go another year and thank God we're saying goodbye to that year instead of looking back thinking, oh my God, like how many wonderful things. Look at how blessed we are to have a roof over our heads, a job, friends, incredible people in our lives, and all the little milestones that you've achieved in that year. And then, carrying that into the following year. For me, in New Year's Eve, I started doing something recently because I never was one for writing down resolutions. I was just like, that's not going to happen. I didn't want to put the pressure on. I knew I wasn't going to succeed in it. So I'd give myself one word and I would say, you know what, this year, my word was last year it was open-minded. I wanted to be more open-minded. Just with whatever opportunity comes my way, say yes. Unless obviously it gives you a really bad gut feeling. Listen to that, please. But just kind of opening your mind up to new things and change it up. That you're not, because change does bring new things in, it
Change
invites
brings growth.
It does bring growth, of course it does. And then the year before it was worthy, because I didn't believe I was worthy of so many different things, that I wasn't good enough for, that was my core belief. So I wanted to carry the word worthy into every facet of my life in that year. I was like, reminder, every day you are worthy of this, you are worthy of that, whatever it might be. And it takes the pressure off. And it just makes life a lot more interesting, a lot easier. And, let's see where it goes.
That's beautiful though, because what it's
Beautiful.
doing, it is though, but it's affirmation.
It is.
And
Yeah.
again, write it down. I'm such a visual person. So write it on that Post-it, stick it beside the fridge, stick it beside where you get your morning coffee, at your laptop, whatever it is. Because what you're doing is you're trying to integrate that core belief. And that's where the root of so many things can come from. So let's say if you don't believe you're worthy, you're not going to meet that guy. You're never going to go for that promotion. You're not going to get all these things, as in, not that won't happen, but you might meet someone that you're ready for, or that is matching you because you don't feel worthy of meeting the one that's better. It's the
vibration you're operating from. And it is, like, everything is energy. And it is that law of attraction. You know, I'm a huge believer in that.
Yeah.
For so many years, when I look back, I was operating on such a low vibration. So of course I was attracting in other low vibration, you know, opportunities or people.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't matching up because it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I needed. So when you start to realize that and change that, then things start to come in that you're like, oh, okay. But you have to believe you're worthy of it. You have to, and that might start with just the affirmation. So affirming to yourself every night, whether you believe it or not, it works. I've tried hypnotherapy twice and it does work. I would try anything. Honestly, I'd be lying down for a month every night to say, Rachel, you are amazing.
You are.
No, but what I'm saying is I would have to listen to this stuff to kind of ingrain it. And I'm not joking, as silly as it might sound, it works. I'm like, I don't care. If it's in my subconscious and it's working into my subconscious, even though I'd fall asleep listening to the tape, it would work. So, you know, it was helping me really loosen and sever that cord that was so strong over the years that made me feel not enough. So that took a long time. You know, it was consistent, and I had to be consistent with it. It wasn't just like, oh, one word, worthy. Yeah, I'm made.
Yeah.
It was a practice. It was a daily practice and a habit I had to get into and become familiar with. And it worked. It did help, but it's not like I am cured either. As I would say before on on this podcast, it is a practice. It's something I have to come back to. It doesn't take as long to get back there. You know, but it is definitely something I have to keep an eye on.
Yeah. And every day we have a choice.
Exactly.
And life is made up of the choices that we make. So who we choose to be surrounded by, their energy, who we choose to marry or be with, what job we choose to do, what habits we choose to have in our day to day, what food we choose to. Everything that we do in life is made up of these choices that we get to make afresh every single day. And that's where this idea of by December, if this hasn't been done, well, like you failed. That's not true. Every single moment of every single day is a new opportunity to choose a different way of living, a different life, a different mindset. And it comes back to you. It always comes back to you. And that like goes back to the start of the conversation where it's like showing up for yourself. And part of the reason we don't want to start our new challenge on January the 1st, because it doesn't have to start, everything doesn't have to start on the Monday or on the 1st. Start at January 6th. Give yourself another week to enjoy the relaxation.
January's long enough.
January's long enough. And this January challenge, it shouldn't even be challenge. It should be the show
opportunity.
Up. It's showing up
it's
for
an
yourself.
Opportunity.
Yeah. And that's such a good point, because we put so much pressure on ourselves, whether it is organising a wedding, whether it's getting over a broken heart, whether it's, you know, putting on a smile around Christmas if you're grieving someone that you loved. It's really, really tough.
So tough.
And there's always, you know, it's that outwardly face and what actually we feel within. And if we constantly give off this outward mask, over time, the more we do that, the more detached we get from our own emotions, more detached we get from our true selves, and the less the least we know about ourselves and how to serve ourselves rightfully. And I think that's why what we practice, and that's what I come back to with the meditation and the therapy work as well, that just to get clearer on my thought process, because our thoughts feed everything. Like, feeds our body, feeds our mind. Our thoughts feed into our core beliefs. So if we're feeding our thoughts with this negative, I'm not good enough, I can't believe I'm here now again and this hasn't happened, and it's all these like, oh, here we are again. It's like, you're not here again. This is your first time here in this moment as this person after all you've achieved, after all you've gotten through or overcome. So be really mindful of reflecting back with gratitude rather than with judgment, because the world is cruel enough. Please be kind to yourself.
It's really about that kindness piece. I mean, if I could go back and tell my, younger self, that is the one thing I would be,
Honing in on
for sure. It would say, I would definitely say be kind, be compassionate. Give yourself a break. It's life is hard enough. You need to, bring that kindness into it. And if that means not going out for that night out that you're dreading, and you just, taking time to yourself, have a nice long bath.
Be more selfish.
Over Christmas, be selfish.
Like
100% set the boundaries.
Yeah, set the boundaries. That's the word, is boundaries. And that's what is probably one of the most difficult things to do, as I talk to my therapist about. I don't know why I'm putting on Australian accent. But it's always comes back to boundaries.
Yeah.
And why certain things ignite different emotions in us. It's because someone has crossed your boundary, but you don't realize what that boundary is yet. So that's maybe an activity to do. What are your boundaries? Personally and professionally, where is the line? Who do you allow cross it? And there are times and people and moments where it is, that other lines will be crossed, whatever, and it wouldn't be as serious, let's say. But I think it's really important that you understand your needs. And if you're constantly out there trying to please everyone else and trying to show up for everyone else and everyone else's big moment in life, and you're feeling like, oh my God, will I ever get there myself? You will. But you need to first understand where the line is for you to know yourself deeper and for you to respect your what is going to serve you. Because a lot of things are triggering. And I know, Rachel, talking to you over the years too, with ourselves, like different milestones that we thought we would have hit at different ages and we haven't. And friends of ours have, and we're so happy for them. But you do feel a bit like, why isn't it? Like, when is it my turn kind of thing,
And you're human. You're going to think that, it is. And you are so overjoyed for that person. You really are. There is no doubt. But it does show up, and it does highlight the cracks within you that you are.
It's something you want.
You are craving. Yeah, something that you want. If you want it, maybe some people don't, and absolutely fine. But, that was something I wanted. So I found that hard. Yeah, I found it triggering.
Yeah.
Again, the big events, it can be triggering, whether it's weddings, Christmas, New Year's, all of those. So just our message before we round up is to be kind to yourself and prioritize your own needs. That's a huge one. And identifying your own needs, that's sometimes not very clear. Sometimes we don't even know our own needs because we're constantly giving to others and just, yes, yeah, I'll be there, no problem. A yes person. And yes, people are the ones that can get sick because we're not looking after ourselves. So I know Gabor Mate talks on it about autoimmune diseases, and it's always, he said, the common thread is people that are, he said, majority are women, and they're
of a certain age,
constant givers that say yes, 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 and they don't, they haven't identified their own boundaries. They've, just don't have them. So do it for your own health as well as your own mental well-being.
Yeah. But that was similar to our recent escape in Ballynahinch Castle. The women that came on that escape had to physically remove themselves from their home environment to fully be able to switch off. Even though it takes a bit of time, even when you get them to Connemara, it still takes time for the guilt to drop. Oh, but I'm away from the kids and I'm away from the whole. That's okay. Be here. You chose to be here. That's a really good choice that you made for yourself. And that's going to benefit them when you go back, and you're much kinder because you've actually allowed yourself to be kind to yourself.
Yeah, you're more present.
So important. And that is 100% the message for this time of year in particular. But moving into 2025, absolutely look at what you want to achieve and your goals, but maybe just start, like Rachel, what you recommended, with one word. What is the one word or the one sentence or the one affirmation that you want to bring into your new year, into this new phase of your life, into the new version of yourself that you're constantly growing and adapting and improving each day by the choices that you decide to make. And we hope that this season is one of joy and happiness for you. And we really just loved having this podcast for the last few weeks. I can't believe it's episode 8, final episode of this season. But we are absolutely so excited for what's to come in season 2. We have an amazing lineup of guests and really interesting people from all different walks of life. And we'll be back just chatting to each other too, because you can't actually shut us up. That's the problem. But as always, your feedback is so loved and appreciated. If you'd like to leave us a rate and review, we would appreciate that also. And thank you so much, and have a beautiful Christmas and New Year ahead.
Thank you for listening to the Love Your Limits podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If something resonated with you or you would like to learn more, please find all contact details in the show notes. We are also delighted to offer our listeners 1 month free access to Yogamara on demand. Use the code LOVEYOURLIMITS at sign up to watchyogamara.com. And remember, learning to love your limits is an act of self-care and self-love.